That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May.
I love it, Paul. That's great. Frank again. I totally love it. That was Paul from Mack Constructions Inc. And we've got a really interesting show, Carlito.
That's right, Manny.
We are going to be talking about a lot of self-leveling concrete.
My favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
It is
self-levelers.
So before we jump into Paul and his story, I just want to ask you guys, Carlito included,
Thank you.
the term self-leveling was coined by whom and what year? I'll give you a hint, Carlito.
Wait a second. Germans.
No. No, I'm sorry. You're correct.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint, though. You actually love this company.
Ardex.
Yes.
Yes! I love Ardex and I love Germany.
Ardex is German, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought. That's why I was saying, yeah, that's right. So 1978.
Wow.
Only in 1978?
78. That's when self-leveling started. They coined that phrase and they started it, self-leveling.
Well, I think the Egyptians probably really started.
No, they didn't.
Well, there's no recorded history to that, okay?
They were all just about slaves and getting some buildings done. That's all it is. All right. So now today we've got Paul, and you're from Mack Constructions Inc.
Yes.
And your business is strictly all self-leveling.
Yes.
Okay.
Self-leveling, floor toppings.
Floor toppings, all kinds of stuff like that. The website is what? www.mackconstructions with an S, inc.com.
Yes.
At Mack Constructions Inc.
Yes.
Perfect. How'd you get started in the business, Paul?
It's sort of a long story.
Oh, we got time.
Yeah, we got time.
I went to Central Tech.
Nice.
Another cent check? Okay.
Yeah, tough school, technical.
Yeah, I was actually in plumbing, licensed plumber. I was doing plumbing from about 19 until I got into this business. This product that I do is called Agilia Screed from LaFarge.
I love it.
I'm sure you guys have heard of it.
Yeah, I've used it.
Used it many times.
Carlito's used it.
Yeah.
It's sort of a backstory, but the very first job ever done in Canada was my aunt's basement. And I did the plumbing there. And my aunt was doing in-floor heating, and she's like, could you do in-floor heating for me? And I said, I never did it before, but sure. So I did the in-floor heating. She worked at a place that sold in-floor heating stuff, like Uponor stuff. I did the heating, and then, anyways, LaFarge and these other guys that they kind of teamed up with back then came to pour this basement. I met these guys, and now I'm here.
Wow, that must have been like over 15 years ago then.
I started 13 years ago. The product came to Canada 14 years ago. I got into it.
You did the first job. So you're a master plumber, licensed plumber.
Yeah, licensed plumber, yeah.
And you did the one job, and all of a sudden you just decided to leave plumbing and get into this.
No, it didn't happen that quick.
Okay.
These guys, they lived close to me, the ones that came and started doing this with LaFarge. And I became friends with them, and then I was on my own doing plumbing. Wasn't that busy, like I was just starting out. And they were like, why don't you come and give us a hand on some jobs? So I did. And then they were like, you should take this more serious. So I started to, and then I went to the bank and I got a loan and I bought sort of like a franchise, I'll call it. That's how I got into it. So I did do plumbing in the beginning to kind of substitute what I wasn't doing in pours. I wasn't always like how busy as we are now. So in the beginning, we were just kind of like doing a pour every 2 weeks. And I was doing plumbing and then I slowly just kept building it up, and started dropping plumbing customers until about maybe, I would say 7-8 years ago.
So this was 2005 that this started, 2006?
2007 is when I got involved.
I got involved. And that was with LaFarge with Agilia Screed.
Yes.
How much different was the product then? Because I know that's when, Carlito, you used it on the show.
Yeah, we used it on the show all the time.
Okay.
Because one of the biggest failures with houses is basement floors are still being done with old school techniques where everything's pitched to the drain, but we're not using basements like we used to. So now we want self-leveled, or we want leveled foundation floors. People just don't do that properly, right?
Yeah.
Your business, Paul, primarily was basements, or was it still on the main floor and the other floors? In
You mean now or back then?
No, back then. What was the original where they were trying to get into the market?
It was kind of the same what I'm doing now. We focus on rain floor heating.
Okay.
The in-floor heating is big for us. I do a lot of basement leveling, and I did back then, but now I would say that most of my jobs is custom homes or custom renovations, in-floor heating.
And how many jobs were you doing back then when you were just getting started? Because I can't imagine that many homeowners signing off on something that was 2x, 3x the cost of a normal heating system.
All right, yeah.
I'm talking about the whole mechanical part of it as well.
I would say in the beginning, first year, I probably did about 12 jobs, like one a month.
So it was strictly a hobby at that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had the plumbing.
Yeah.
And I could kind of just do this whenever it came up. You know, I was pushing for it. I was out there, you know, going door to door and when I had time. But I was getting busier doing the plumbing at that time too. So like I was busy. But slowly but surely it was, you know, one a month to two a month to, you know, this week we did 8 this week. So
You've done 8 this week?
yeah, 8 this week, yeah.
But listen, you know what? It's great to hear that people are using this product. When you're pouring a concrete floor, you need to go on that floor at least 3 or 4 times. You can't do it in one swipe. Like when you pour a concrete floor, you pour it, you're somewhat leveling it with a laser if you're that kind of guy. And then you got to come back every 2 hours and you got to get on your hands and knees. You got to helicopter it, you got to float it. And you do that 3 or 4 times, 10, 12 hours for a normal concrete. You're just coming in with this product through do you use a pump?
Oh yeah, we have 3 pumps, yeah.
What size?
The hose is 2-inch.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you come in, you pump it, and you're done in an hour.
And you can reach as far as what? Like I think you mentioned to me before 300 feet or something?
The highest that I've pumped personally is about 14 stories.
Wow. 14?
Yeah, and it was easy. I could have gone higher easily. The farthest I've gone is about 350 feet on a job at the old Scarborough City Hall. It was 2 summers ago this year. And we had to go right into the building and you couldn't get close. Like you just couldn't get close. So we had to run this hose like down where the fountain is and up around. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
So, like our pumps have good capacity. They could pump high and they could pump far. And the products, it's very liquid.
Back in the early days, was it always the truck and the pump? No, you guys were mixing the product?
No, that would be like some of the other products.
Okay.
It's always been coming in a concrete truck from LaFarge or Inacon.
Got it.
Yeah.
You've never, so I guess primarily, but you've only ever done LaFarge or you've done other products as well?
I've only done this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know other companies, they're offering Ardex or the guys will do themselves and they'll mix bags. And I know other companies approach me as well too. 10 skids of bags and you got to mix everything. I was going, I'm not mixing this stuff. This is insane, man. I'd rather have it coming in a truck.
Oh yeah, they approach me too.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, and some of our competitors also do like a wide variety of products, but we just stick to the Agilia Screed.
There's never been an issue with it. I mean, that product actually, where's it come from?
Originally Germany.
Germany, okay.
Yeah, but now they have local sources for the binder.
But the idea itself came from them, and then they just brought it over here, and then I guess more and more people are using radiant floor heating.
Yeah, and I have a lot of jobs that aren't radiant floor heating, that are just floor leveling as well. So we do like a lot of basement leveling in residential, but when it comes to commercial, you know, precast toppings, we have a big site coming up that's all precast.
Nice.
So it could be thin. It could be like from 10 mil to 2-inch, let's say.
You can get that thin, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it won't crack.
No, if you're going bonded to concrete, you can go as thin as you can finish it.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I can get down to 3/8 easily.
I mean, and that's in a large amount too, right? Like, so I think a lot of people need to understand that when you're using LaFarge, you're talking about a solid thick floor, like a few inches thick.
Not necessarily. You could put it on plywood. So like, it could be anything.
Oh yeah. Like most of our jobs would be 1.5 inch. Like standard job would be 1.5 inch over plywood, over radiant.
That gives you what, a 1/2 inch to 3/4 over the amount of the highest point of the radiant tube.
Yeah, the tube is 5/8 on the outside, so we'll say 15 millimeters. I'm usually targeting 40 mil.
Got it.
So I'm 1 inch on top, 25 mil. That's the top. But sometimes you have to be a little bit thinner in some spots. Sometimes you're going to be thicker. Obviously, the floors are never going to be bang on. Most of the new homes I see are up and down. So
Yeah, of course. But the idea of self-leveling and having that radiant floor heating is that you want that mass of that material because that mass is what's going to heat up to give you the heat.
Yeah.
Right? So if you go too thin, then you're not really getting the mass, are you?
No, but sometimes it just depends on the situation. Like we always want to target 1.5 inch, but you have fixed points. You got staircases, you got windows and so on. So like, let's just say that's your fixed point and the subfloor over here is going up. So you got to be thinner over there or you got to make it unlevel.
Of
And I'd
course.
rather make it level and be like, 1.25 or something in some spots.
Like Paul was one of the first guys that he was telling me that you laser every room.
Yeah, you have to.
Like a lot of guys don't do that. They kind of live off the idea that this is a self. They really take that self word way too much. Like it's self-leveling to a point, but you still
you're
have
right.
to.
You're totally right. You have to use a laser. You have to double check on it. You have to work it a lot, and you have to work it fast.
Not so fast with our product because our product has a long shelf life. So I got 6 hours.
You got 6 hours from the time you actually put it on the floor.
Well, 6 hours from the time it leaves the yard.
Okay.
But I've pushed it. Like I just did a couple of jobs up in Bruce Peninsula. So it was a 3-hour drive for the truck.
Wow. So you're already losing your window.
Yeah, but like I didn't have an issue at all on the site. Not an issue.
I know,
at
because
all.
I know that you poured for me, and I was like surprised at how quickly you did it. We slowed you down just for the shooting of it,
Yeah.
right? And you would have been faster if we didn't have cameras, right? So that was actually pretty impressive. And then there isn't that much of a factor when it comes to weather. You know what I mean? As long as the house is in a stable temp.
Well, there is, because one time on the show, we wanted to have a delivery first thing in the morning because you want to have your concrete delivered first thing so it doesn't sit in that hopper getting hot and starting to the chemicals starting to set. So I think that they showed up a little bit after 12. It was about 12:30, middle of summer. It was hot out, and we got our 2-inch line, ran into the basement. We started pumping it, and me and the big man were on the tools, and I was buttering up the Agilia, and all of a sudden I started seeing it get hard. We learned from that is don't let it sit in that truck very long, or it can set up.
So the thing is, there's Agilia Concrete and there's Agilia Screed, and that's probably Agilia Concrete. And
So
people
there's two different products.
There's 2 different products, yeah. So the Agilia Concrete is actually concrete that they call self-leveling, which is not. It's not, but it's finished the same way with the bars. So I think you're probably talking about that because the heat doesn't affect our product.
Wow.
Not
Okay,
at
I
all.
didn't know that.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, because I did notice when you poured, it was actually really warm.
Oh, they're heating the aggregate and they're using hot water.
Oh, they're using hot water.
Yeah.
That's really it, huh?
Yeah, it needs, in the wintertime, it needs to come to the job site above 20 degrees. If it doesn't, it's not going to kill me, but it'll keep that fluidity longer.
Okay.
If it comes cold, it starts to kind of, I'm not saying go off, but it starts to thicken quicker. So it's very important that they use the hot water. I'm paying for the hot water, so they better be using it.
So walk us through the whole procedure, because I know the way we met is that you literally did what Andrew did. Like we had a kid in here. He's 30 years old. He's a kid to us. He was saying that he would hustle and just go to job sites and go to divisions and just knock on the door and go, hey, listen, you need a carpenter. So you just walked right left your card on my job site. I contacted you. It was just by luck that I was in the process of hunting down who's going to do the self-leveling.
Yep.
I've never done it before. And then you just walked me through and I liked what you had to say. So why don't you walk us through the whole procedure from the time that you get on the job site and you're talking to a GC or you're talking to a homeowner?
Let's just, if you call me or you get my number from someone or I stop by, whatever the case is, I want to see the job. It's important that I see the job. And people always say to me, what are you going to see the job for? It's level. It's brand new.
Yeah,
And
right.
I saw a job this week down in Ronsonville, and the guy's like, no, it's level. And I went there, and it actually was excellent. It was a reno, and he redid it. But the guy's a framer by trade. It's his own house. Most of the time, a house would be up and down 1 inch.
Yeah, you're
That
right.
much?
Yes.
From one end to the other end.
Or just from some point to some point, from high to low, brand new house, I would say 1 inch is very common. I saw one last week that was 1.5.
A new home?
Brand new.
Brand new home. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a laser or they didn't have a
I have
level?
no idea.
Didn't
So
care.
I need to see these jobs because there's important spots in the home that need to be a certain measurement. And the sooner I get in, the sooner I can point at someone, hey, listen, just so you know, I'm not going to be 1.5 at your staircase. I'm going to be 2.25 because I need to start over here at 1.25 and it's at a level. So I want to go see the job as early as I can to figure out the windows and the stairs and maybe the toilet flanges and other things. But the windows and the stairs are the killer. When I show up to a job and I see a staircase installed, I'm like, oh God.
A brand new staircase.
Yeah, brand new staircase. 'Cause I'm like, they just assume 1.5 and it's usually in the middle of the house and it usually sags there. And then it causes me problems. And I care. I'm going to be like, I'm going to tell the customer, listen, this is only 1.5 here, and over here it's going to be too thin. Oh, cheat it, and this and that. And it's like,
You can't though.
I can, but I mean, then all of a sudden the tile guy's going to come back. This floor's not level. I tried warning the customer or the homeowner, and So I try to avoid those situations if I can, or just make it very clear. This is what it's going to be. So I like to get in the job early, check it out, firm price. We're on the same page. I don't like to just show up and do a pour. And, even if I have customers I've been doing work for 10 years who say, just go up and do it. No, I want to have the price on paper. And then when we go to the job, we usually put down plastic. So on a standard job, like I know that job we did with you, we did the Schluter and the Sauna Pro is a little bit different. But on a standard job, we could put down 6 mil poly on the floor, tape the joints. We put a gasket in all the walls. This would be like for like a wood frame.
What size gasket is that?
It's a 1/4 inch, 4-inch high, 1/4 inch thick.
Is that so the slab doesn't crack?
No, it's just to keep it. So this product's installed floating. I don't want to be bonded to wood, especially. So even if there was no rain floor heating, I'd put down plastic. So I put the plastic down, put the gasket in the walls, tape the joints, wrap up the toilet flanges, wrap up the pipes, tape everything. So we're essentially totally floating from the structure. So it's moving independently.
Nice.
It looks like the standard 1/2 inch gasket you'd see, a 4-inch side, but it's half the thickness. It's a 1/4 inch. So that goes on all the walls. And then the heating guy would come in and lay his tubing down, and then we come back and pour, and then we come back and sand it as well.
Yeah, you got to do that final sanding because it depends on what you're going to put down. If you are going to put Ditra down or if you're going to put a glue down, most of the time you're gluing down hardwood.
Yeah.
But you're sanding because of the fiber?
No, there's no fiber.
Okay.
The sanding is because of all the water in the product. It rises to the top and it leaves a layer
creamy
called latence.
Yeah.
That's like the term for it. So that latence sometimes is very flaky. Sometimes it's not. It depends on the weather and the mix and how fast we're on it. And it just, every job's a little bit different, but we sand every job. Unless it's like a basement reno and they're putting down floating laminate, It doesn't matter. But if you're going to glue anything to it or stick anything to it, it should be sanded to make sure that latence is removed. If it's flaky, sometimes I go to a job and I'm doing it and nothing's coming off.
You're sanding it with what? What are you using? Just
a floor maintainer.
That's all it is, right? You're just getting the curse off. That's all you're doing, right?
Yeah, it's just like that crusty kind of.
Well, tile guys must love you because how many jobs do you go to and you see a concrete floor and an amateur tile setter will just think, oh, I can just lay on that concrete floor. And you can't because there's a skin built up on there and nothing will adhere to it. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing that you're doing that through the whole job.
I think that everybody doing any topping should be sanding their floor, and nobody does.
Wow.
They should be prepping. They should be opening the pores. They should be priming it. They should be figuring it out. And we had to do that as well too. Like I got Mappé in there, and we did priming. We did a test, and because I know that Agilia Screed, LaFarge doesn't. They don't go past the point of their product to adhere to the finished product. So you've got a finished product that has specifications on it, and then you have to use something to adhere that product, but that something has to work with the base product. With us, what you did with us is you first suggested the Sonopan, which was a great idea to actually add for soundproofing.
So go through that with me, please.
So the Sonopan is basically what, 1/8 inch, 2 mil thick felt material product that basically, again, decoupling the LaFarge from the substrate, right? So you're not connecting the cement.
So it's a floating floor
It's a floating floor, but it has a sound cushion on it. It's the hard sounds, right? So we're talking, there's 2 different types of sounds when you walk on a floor. You have those high heel hard sounds, right? Or the construction boots hard sounds. And then you've got the atmospheric sounds, people talking and music playing or whatever, right? This material doesn't address people talking. It just addresses hard knocks on the floor.
Wow.
It cushions
fantastic.
that. So
what's it called?
Sonopan.
Okay.
Sono Pro.
Sono Pro. It's called Sono Pro. And it's not that expensive. Like, I mean, when you quoted it out, I was like, that's not really crazy money for it, right?
I'm doing a lot of it.
A lot of people are adding it, right?
A lot of I have one builder that's every house now, and he's building monster homes, and every house he wants the Sono Pro because he loves the way he walks in the house and he's like, this is amazing.
No
it's
echo.
So solid.
It deadens it. Like it has a nice tone to it.
So is that stapled down?
No staples.
It's completely floating.
You don't want to connect it to the floor below.
Wow.
So that's the thing. With your job, we had the Schluter, right? So we put the Sono Pro and the Schluter on top, and then tubing goes into the Schluter.
Yes.
But the Schluter, it has a cost, and some people don't want to spend that much money. So what we do is we put down wire mesh. We tape the wire mesh down. So we put the Sono Pro down, tape the joints, put the mesh down, and we tape the wire mesh down. And then the heating guy comes and zip ties all the tubing to the wire mesh, so that nothing will float.
Now, can I talk to you a little bit about the styrofoam versus the chicken wire?
Well, that's what I was just going to say, is that there was two reasons why we used the Schluter Becotech, which is the foam product, right?
There's an R value there, right?
No, it's got nothing to do with
Okay.
our value, right? It's just, it interlocks to itself. It has its own foam gasket that actually ties into itself. So there's an adhesive underneath it that ties underneath the foam tray, and then there's adhesive on the back end of it for the wall. So there's two parts to that foam perimeter. Then the other idea was that to avoid adding more structural sistering, it reduced the amount of weight on the floor because of the foam component. So there was less concrete Agilia Screed used.
Wow.
Just enough for the radiant purposes of it, mechanically speaking, but it reduced the weight. So then we only had to sister so much of it. Otherwise, you would have to sister a lot more or structurally do it a certain ways. This was all predetermined.
I know,
way
but
at the
there
beginning.
has to be some kind of R value or some kind of reflective
there is.
quality.
A tiny bit.
It's like R1 or 2 or
yeah.
something.
It's
not
no
much.
different than, I guess, shiplap rigid polystyrene.
I know, but I feel a massive difference in the showers with Schluter pans. I know this isn't a Schluter commercial, but like basically when I go into a shower pan that's styrofoam, I feel it's warmer or cozier than it would be just on concrete. So that's why I was asking, because I haven't used this system yet.
There's
so.
lots of product. Like, I mean, Amvic, they have a product too, right?
Everybody has one.
Everybody's doing it now, right?
Uponor has one.
Uponor has a product now, a foam one?
They have two. It's called Quick Track, and they have one that's like a glue down.
Okay.
It's for thinner applications, and they have one that has insulation. It's very similar to the Becotech. There's I would say at least a dozen.
The only thing that I've heard from some mechanical guys is that if they don't use a foam connecting pattern product like that, and they just staple the lines down, over time with the heat and cold of the lines, the staple gets worn out or it digs into the actual tube. I don't know to what extent, if you're using cheap tubing, and maybe it does. I don't know, but that's what I've heard the thread is.
I've never heard that, but I do notice a difference on jobs between, like, for example, one of the jobs we did say the tubing was very, like the staples they used with the gun, it wasn't very tight.
No, it's very
As
loose.
opposed to the one I did in the morning, it was tight. Like those staples were.
Isn't the idea to not make it so tight, because when it gets hot, it's going to expand, and then
I would think so, yeah.
I mean, it's also encased in the concrete, in the Agilia Screed, right?
Yeah.
So
I know that I've used wafer screws before, stainless steel wafer screws to put chicken wire down, lath wire. I've also used special staples that aren't just, T50 staples that you're just going to staple down like vapor barriers. So it's going to be a more industrial staple, a little thicker and stronger. That makes a huge difference. I was always taught to go tight. When you actually hit it with your finger, it doesn't go think, think, think. It's tight. I was always told to do that. So what are the pros and cons to that? Do you actually believe that, or is it just your theory?
To be honest, I mean, as long as the pipes don't float, it doesn't really matter to me.
yeah, you
because-
don't want them popping up.
Yeah, I mean, I do show up to a lot of jobs where I have to add a lot of clips. I always roll with 1,000 clips on me. The Talon ones, the ones you hammer in. Because, you see all kinds of different workmanship. Today was a good day. We did 2 large jobs, and we didn't have to add 1 clip to either job, which is amazing. Sometimes I have to add 500 clips.
But that's not cheap.
Well, the HVAC guys didn't do their job then,
Yeah.
and then you have to do their job. That's not fair, but
It's not, but you know what?
it's the industry.
The thing is, if the truck's on their way, like, what are we going to do?
Yeah, you're on a clock.
We're going to call the guy and say, like, I called the builder because no one's there. I called the builder. Oh, okay. And he'll call the guy and he'll show up there 3 hours later. It's like my truck. So no, we just roll with the punches and we add them as we go. And it could add up, but they're pretty cheap. Those clips are like 6-7 cents each. So I mean, if we have to add
It's a time though,
200,
just to get it done right.
it does suck, but it's just part of I've just accepted it. It's just part of the deal.
So what's your perfect system? What products do you like to use right across the board from the beginning to the end if you have a choice?
Well, obviously Agilia Screed.
Yeah. No, I mean right from the felt or...
I mean, I mainly, well, I shouldn't say mainly. I only use Sono Pro for the sound mat. I have used a couple other ones and I had some issues with them. Not with the sound like numbers, but with the install or leaks, and they weren't waterproof and how they install and so on. So I really like the Sono Pro. Other than that, I'm 6 mil poly. Like, we just use 6 mil poly like crazy. And when we do jobs that are bonded to concrete, we're using Primarel, Mapai.
The L works really well. It's
I'm
really
spraying
strong.
that stuff, like crazy. If we have any jobs bonded, it's primarily like we just did a job on Monday, a basement. So this builder loves our work. He purposely left it about an inch and a quarter low from where he wanted to be, so we could come in and just put the topping down. It was bonded, like they left the concrete nice and rough. Went in there, sprayed the primer.
It was done.
And that's it.
He had that radiant as well?
That was radiant, yeah.
So he just wanted you to make sure it's perfect instead of dealing with the concrete guys because they'll never get it perfect.
Yeah.
That's kind of smart. You're mostly custom rentals, right? You do some commercial work nowadays.
We do some commercial work. I would say we probably do 80% residential.
How many guys on the crew now? Like, are you growing, or are you still the same amount of guys?
No, we've grown. We've got, let's say, myself, I have a partner, and 2 to 3 guys. One's part-time, and the other 2 guys are full-time.
And then the clientele, what kind of people are we just strictly talking this is mostly the upper middle class, kind of high end? I guess because of the whole HVAC side, it's still 2 times the cost of doing a regular forced air system.
We have customers, you name it. We have customers from the bridle path all the way down to some guy that's renovating his own basement and it's out of level. So it really varies.
I find it interesting that most people, when you talk about radiant, their first go-to, like I'm talking about clients, their first go-to is just to do the basement. And I keep thinking, why not just do the rest of the house?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense? Like, you don't agree, Carlito? Like,
no, you're totally right. But how many people actually want to spend that kind of money in that? They would rather spend their money on a fridge or a freezer.
Start telling them how much more comfortable the radiant's going to be for your kids, for your family. With COVID going on right now and everybody's home, and we're lucky that we're at the tail end of winter, but if this wasn't the dead of winter and everybody was home, you probably appreciate that you spent the extra money on radiant and did self-leveling, all that stuff.
I think there's a couple of things if we're going to talk about for radiant heat, nothing is better feeling than going through your feet and warming your bones from the feet up. When you have a forced air, I love forced air. It's never heating my feet. That's the problem. And then, you said something really important. We're talking about mass here. So any kind of concrete that's there is going to have mass energy. And that's going to retain itself and slowly dissipate throughout the few hours or however your circumstances are with your doors and windows, right?
Paul, you ever had to come back in and fix or something was not properly set up or anything like that? No?
I would say maybe once a year I have a job where there's a spot, we're human, there's a spot that's a little bit high or something like that. It has to be grinded down a 1/4 inch. I have a guy that does it for me. He comes in. I have a grinder, but it's not really my forte. He does a really good job. So if I have a spot, I just did a job for a really picky builder. Like, I'm talking pickiest builder ever.
Like Champagne Pappy picky or what?
I don't know, man. Like, it was just ridiculous. And he's going around, he's got spots that are marked on the floor like 8th, 16th. And I said, buddy,
I love this guy.
I said, I'm not grinding 1/16. Like, give me a break.
Yeah. Why was he so particular? What was he using to level everything to make sure that it was?
It was a really, really high-end home. Like, really, really, 20,000 square foot, really high-end, top of the top. He wanted everything to be perfect, which I don't blame him. He's paying for that. But, like, there are tolerances, and we were definitely within the tolerance. There was not, like, an issue like it was at a level, but there was a couple spots, and, well, we just, you know what? When someone calls me there's a problem, I'm there. That's important. You got to be there. You got to take care of it. Even if you don't agree with it, you got to take care of it. So we were there on a Saturday.
Grinding away, making it happy.
Yeah.
1/8. So what is the forgiveness? A 1/4 inch? No.
Is it really?
Listen, in tiles, the lip is a 1/4 inch or anything that a coin can't hit.
What are you talking about? Really?
Yeah. In commercial and like in residential, it's if you can slide a loonie across the floor and it doesn't stop or like flip over, then that's a pass. In commercial, there's up to a 1/4 inch.
For my tolerance, you mean? Or
Yeah,
just
I'm asking about self-leveling tolerance.
We try. Okay, we always talk in millimeters. We try to get it within 3 mil.
Wow,
which is an eighth.
That's an eighth.
That's an eighth of an inch.
Yeah.
5 mil is not so bad. Anything above 5 mil to me is like, oh boy, like that's, you know. Like,
but you're talking about from the front of a house to the back of the house within that
like
3 mil.
Like all these spots, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's 60 feet by 60. Let's just say like 60 feet by 60 feet. You're out an eighth.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's still great.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
this guy was being really, really over the top, but whatever.
How
It
was
is
the
what it
framing
is.
before you actually did the job? How off was the framing, or was it bang on as well?
Way more than an eighth. Let's put it that way.
Of course
Way
it was.
more than an eighth. Not even close. But it wasn't bad for the size of the house.
Yeah.
The bigger the house, you're usually going to see more. You know, it's going to be up and down more.
What was he
usually.
putting on top of that? That was he so critical because it was a certain
It was
kind
like
of.
big marble slabs. Yeah,
So that's
big
why.
slabs.
So there isn't much forgiveness because
No.
it could crack if it is off.
And like the bigger the slab, the more the true and level the floor's got to be.
Yeah.
You know, if you're having like some sort of small tile, you can kind of play with it, right? So I could see why it had to be like that. But when he started writing down spots that were 1/16th, I was like, buddy, like
What, was he using a laser or a level?
he was using a laser, but it was like one of those wall ones. It wasn't it wasn't
proper.
It wasn't as good as ours. And some of the spots I was disputing him. I'm like, buddy, this is wrong. Like, look at this. I'm using my laser. It's calibrated. It's So, but gotta keep the customer happy. That's it.
Speaking of lasers, I think is yours a
Oh,
Hilti?
here it goes.
It's a Hilti, right?
So
No.
we recently switched to Hilti.
Oh.
Oh, hi. Now you're talking my language.
Carlito's a Hilti guy. Why? Why'd you switch it up?
I had Leica, like a really good brand.
Yeah.
The place that I was taking it to get it fixed charged a lot of money to do the
Calibrating. Yeah.
calibrate and
Yeah.
so on. The model that I had was reasonably priced. It's green, so I could see it. I could see it much easier. And then that model just continued, and the new one was a lot more money, like substantial, like $500 more, which is quite a bit. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm into or more than the Hilti price. So I'm gonna go check out a Hilti. So I went down to the Hilti store over here in Kipling, and I liked
My star too.
what they were telling me about the unit because I got 2 calibrations for free when I bought it, which was cool. The calibration was like $60 as opposed to $250.
Wow.
So I said, you know what, I'm gonna try it out. So it's been good. And the other thing too is that I always check the lasers to make sure they're calibrated. I don't calibrate them myself, but I can tell if they're off. The Leica's been good. The Hilti's ones have been amazing. And I did have another brand. I don't even know the name. It's not Stabilia, but it is yellow and black. It's a little.
Oh, wait a second.
No, it's not. It wouldn't be. That would be a joke right there. That's a punchline if it was DeWalt, right?
No, it's not DeWalt.
Yeah.
No. Those ones there, I found that they kept on going off too often. Like they weren't built as sturdy. So the Hilti one's like showing on the ad like this guy's dropping it and it's fine still. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try it out. So far, I bought one. I really liked it. So I bought another one. So I'm on my second one.
But you always had to have 2 just in case if something happens. To
Oh
the
yeah,
first one.
I roll with 2. My partner rolls with 2. So we always have 4 with us if we're together. On an average day, let's say we have 2 smaller pours and 2 preps. We'll split up. I'll go
Cool.
do one. He'll go do one. So I have 2 ladies with me. 2 because it's good to have 2 when you pour, but just in case one,
How's this whole COVID thing been for you? Has it been a pain in the ass, or you're the only ones on the site anyway when you're doing your job?
In terms of business, it's been crazy. And I know it's eventually going to probably slow a little bit or whatever, but it's been nuts. Like the last month has
That's
been
so good to hear.
It's been crazy. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. I thought when this whole thing came up, okay, no one's going to call me for jobs. That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting calls like left, right, and center for like new jobs. People just call me up. They're not even saying like, hey, are you working or whatever. They're just like, hey, it's Jim and I have a job over here. Come meet me tomorrow.
It's interesting,
Like
eh?
business as usual. And like you said, we're the only guys on site, usually, when we're pouring for sure.
Well, when you get there and you measure, that's a different story. Things are still going on a little
Yeah.
bit, but ideally, when you get on site, when it's your turn to get the bat, you're the only ones on site.
Yeah, like today, like we did a big job in Waterloo. There were some guys doing stucco in the back of the house or something, so they weren't close to it. It was just the 4 of us. The second job we did, there was some guys working in the basement, but they had a door to go out the back, so it hasn't really affected us at all. I mean, it's affected us where people are slowing their jobs down. Oh, it was going to be ready next week. Now it's not ready because there's only one trade at a time and
Yep.
so on, but it is what it is. It's roll with the
Traffic's been
punches.
great for the city.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't seen really, like, I keep hearing all this propaganda about it slowing down, but everybody I know is still working.
No, it's slowing down.
Well, I guess it's just my friends that are working that are doing well, I guess, or they have so many contracts that it's not really slowing them down for months to come.
Paul, your business has basically grown every year since you got started
Every
in
single
this,
year.
right?
Every single
right.
year.
And there's and I like that there's more and more clientele that are wanting to do this system because I personally think it's better. It's just an expensive ticketed item. Just like when we were talking with Jim, if the client can, he goes, sometimes we do the basements only and then we leave the other floors alone. When you're setting up the mechanical, it kind of makes sense. You're already setting up a boiler, you're setting up the return, you're setting up the manifold for the basement. Why not just do it for the other 2 floors? But I guess it gets expensive at that point.
I think things are changing now, but it hasn't been like this for a long time, right? Like more people are doing radiant now than ever.
More people are doing radiant than ever, for sure. And just in general, I have some builders that were, like I just mentioned, the one for that basement, who are bringing us in. We're not needed there. Like, he could just get the concrete guys to do a floor, but they're bringing us in to do that. I have other ones that do the upper floors. No topping. No radiant, I mean. And we come in and just pour the floors because they like how we leave it. They know the frame is going to be a little bit off, especially with the Sauna Pro. They like the sound qualities that they didn't get from the sound benefits from the Sauna Pro on our pours. So we do some jobs where there's no rain for heating. We're pouring the first and second floor.
It's so different from what I do. My business is completely different than yours. You're getting most of your business for radiant flooring. Most of the business I get is for tile setters or somebody that already started framing their basement and then they realized that the floor is out 1.5 inches, sometimes around old drains, 3 inches out. And I'm like, when did this floor get poured? And they're like, oh, I just had it poured. And I'm like, 3 inches from the drain. Like, this is huge, right? And now the guys have already framed up. They spent, say, $7,000 to $9,000 to get a concrete floor poured. It's not level. And then they have to pay someone like me, saying depends on the product I use. Like if I use Ardex on 1,000 square foot a floor, it could be $10,000 just for the product.
Oh, I know.
And that's with my discount. If it wasn't with my discount, it could be $20,000 for self-leveling. I know other guys that don't want to use self-leveling and they do sand packs to try to save money. What do you think about sand packs?
Sand packs? What do you mean by sand
Dry
packs?
packing.
Oh, dry pack.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Not really. You can do a whole basement with a dry pack.
He can do a whole house. He can do 3,500 square feet
I'm just
in 2
feeling
hours.
them out. I'm just feeling them out, kind of seeing what directions and experience.
I mean, I've never done dry pack. I've only seen it done. I would say our product's superior in terms of quality and performance and ease of application and so on. And I would think that I would get my floor close, like better, like, more level than most dry pack guys would. And the pricing on dry packs all over the map. I go up against some guys doing dry packs sometimes, and sometimes they're way more expensive than me.
Or a lot
sometimes
cheaper.
they're way cheaper, and it's like I don't even know where they end up. So I've had a lot of customers who have switched from dry pack. They're old school builders, and that was what they used. And then someone told them, hey, use this guy, call this guy. And then they say, okay, I'm going to switch to you. And then once they do, they're like, this is the best. Like they won't go back.
I agree. Like I've seen, Carlito, you've done the whole Ardex barrel mixing.
Yeah, so I got a couple barrels I mix.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I just watch that and I sweat. It seems like a lot of work.
Can I explain why I use Ardex?
Sure.
So a lot like you, I don't have radiant floor heating on some of the houses that I go into, but I don't care what anyone says. Like 9 out of 10 times, the house is out 1.5 inches on a brand new build or a renovated build. Easy. I had a friend called me up the other day and said, "Oh, I just renovated 2 houses. I need you to just check out the floors for me and put a price for tiles." So I always self-level because I would rather put the money into self-leveler and level the floor and then allow the thin set to do its job at its thickness instead of packing it and building it up and then having a product that's going to fail. So I use Ardex. I put it over plywood, but I can also nail hardwood flooring through it up to 3/4 of an inch.
Huh?
Yeah. So what happens is when I'm doing hardwood flooring and I have a lot of dips, instead of laminating plywood or stripping it and then redoing the joists,
It won't crack that
it
material?
will not crack. And it goes down to 1/8. I've nailed hardwood flooring through it. I've never had a callback. And it's been years that I've been using it.
Okay, speaking of that, we have to do a little segment here.
Oh, so we have building code talk with Manny.
You guys have any idea what the minimum length of fastener regarding a spiral nail and a screw is for 10 mil up to 20 mil OSB?
No.
Wait a sec.
It's 51 millimeters for nails and 45 for screws.
That's
minimum length of the fastener. So if you're going through a 3/4 OSB or plywood is 25 mil, right?
3/4 would be about 20 mil, 18
mil,
It's
sorry,
like
19 mil. That's right. Yeah. So 20 mil up to 25 is 57 for nails and 51 for screws. And then there's a minimum head size too, 3.2.
Is that both for floor and walls?
That's strictly for floors.
Okay.
Strictly for floors, right? Staples have to be a minimum of 1.6 mil in diameter or thickness and not less than 9.5 millimeter crown, which we know because you buy those. You go to the store and you buy those specific ones, right? I've always gone longer than that, but I guess you don't need to go longer than that. 51 mil is what? You're the metric.
It's 2 inch.
It's 2 inch, right? Yeah. So generally when you do quick drive, fasteners, whatever, those guys are 2 1/4, right? They come in 2 1/4, so you're just over 51. Yeah, so you start getting to 57 length. That's what it is.
I mean, that's great. Those are great facts, but I was always told that whatever the material is, that's really all you need to go into, the floor joists or walls. So if it's 3/4 you're using, you only really need 3/4 of anchoring. But I don't. So I don't.
No,
agree
hang
with
on a
that.
sec. Backtrack that, man. You're anchoring this subfloor to the joists.
Yeah.
You're not using a 3/4 inch fastener.
No, but I'm saying like you could get away with 1.5 inches instead of 2 inches. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I wouldn't do that.
But those are facts. So
2 1/4. That's the minimum building code. So that was
building code talk with Manny.
the budget on this show is just monstrous, man. Monstrous. So we're talking to Paul from Mack Constructions Inc. And that's at Mack Constructions with an S Inc. on Instagram. How is Instagram for you? You get business from Instagram or no?
Ever since I did your job, yes.
I remember I did a shout out for him and all of a sudden he was texting me going, I fucking got so many followers, man. It's but that's how it works, which is great.
And that video was one of your most watched.
Yeah,
at the
that was
time.
insane.
No
That was
way.
when Russia picked it up, when the Middle East picked it up, 500,000 views.
Yeah, it was crazy.
They went crazy for it. And that's actually how LaFarge contacted me. And
Did you pour that big that was a big commercial job? That
Which
wasn't
one?
your house.
No. It was one of Manny's jobs.
No. This is a different company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
that's somebody else.
Yeah, that was somebody else, but that wasn't LaFarge.
That's the same product.
Oh, no, sorry, it was the same product. Yeah, totally
same
right.
product,
it was the
yeah.
same product, Agilia. Yeah. So same product, but two different crews. So it was, but
So I only had 300 followers when I did your job.
yeah.
And I had, after when you posted that video, by the end of that month, I went up to over 1,000. I went up to 700.
That's wicked.
It was great because it
And-
was actually turned out great, man.
And I mean, I don't get a ton of work off there. I probably get 2 leads a month. It's not bad.
But the rest of it is just strictly word of mouth.
Word of mouth. I just recently started doing a little bit of advertising on Google, just a little bit.
Is it working?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I started doing it in the summer. I probably got about, 6 jobs.
So far,
It works. It works to get your message
Yeah.
out there, man. It totally
Most
works.
of it's word of mouth. It's all about who you know. And, you could go to the job site 10 times and talk to the same people and they'll blow you off. And then as soon as their buddy says to them, or their tile guy or their hardwood floor guy, or they're waiting for, hey, this guy's the best, it's totally different. Then they call you. I was like, oh, yeah, come on in here. You know what I mean? So I've had a lot of builders I tried getting, to do work with over the years that just kind of blew me off or didn't give me the time of day. And then another builder or their flooring guy or whoever said to them, hey, this guy's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then we do jobs for them. So, but Instagram has been good. I've started to post more and do more on there.
I noticed that. Yeah,
more
which is good.
stories and more posts. I don't even post every job. It's kind of some of them, they all look the same sort of. So I try to pick the ones that are a little bit better. And I try to stick to a schedule, just post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and do stories throughout the week. So, but it's been helpful because I'm not a web kind of guy. So my website, it's not terrible, but it's not exactly amazing. So it's not updated every day. And like with the Instagram, you go to a job site and say, "Oh, I just did a job just like this one." I can just go through my Instagram and say, "Here, look at this," and then they say, "Oh," and then they start following me, and then that's it. So,
does your website actually pay off? Do you feel that you're getting the bang
it will
for your
with
buck?
the Google.
With the Google now, before it didn't.
Yeah.
Before it was just like it was
Interesting.
just there. It was just there. Like I don't think I even went on to it. Now with the Google, yeah, because we have some ads out there and people can find us, and I get calls. I mean, not as many as the last couple of weeks with this. That's one thing that's still done is the random calls.
Yeah.
I've been getting calls from my builders, but the random calls. But I was getting maybe 1 to 3 calls a week. So it's okay. Like it's nothing crazy. It's not like I'm like, oh my God, like.
If you want a little bit of, because what we learned we did a social media podcast and we were talking about Google and stuff like that. Get on your website and start posting written small articles about what you do and use keywords. If you do that, it will automatically connect your website to your AdWords and you'll get more traction as a result of it. So those keywords are really critical. So just go through your business and what is involved in your business and try to think of all those keywords. So self-leveling, LaFarge, Agilia Screed, all those kinds of keywords, Hilti, level, and all this other stuff. And start, just do a blog. Have a blog section on your website and start adding those keywords into a paragraph about describing what you do. It will get more traction on the Google AdWords that you're buying. You'll see a bigger return for it. It does work. It just takes a lot of time because you got to sit down and do this. So I don't know who's handling the website. And
now my wife's doing it.
So
last summer, my wife came on board, so she works for the company too.
Yeah.
And thank God, because there was a lot of paperwork and all this type of WSIB.
Welcome to the construction life. Yeah, I know.
Well, you're a real contractor.
It's like all the commercial jobs are killer with all the paperwork, safety this, safety all this safety stuff, and all kinds of different contracts that are 25 pages. So now it's amazing. I just get the email. I just forward. I come home and it's like sign here. Da-da. She scans it and sends it back. It's like it's been.
We had a
really
third-party safety person on the podcast that's going to post soon, and she actually told us that there's 25 items that every GC needs to have on a job site, as part of their health and safety kit.
Yeah, I wish we would have talked a little bit more
25.
about that on the podcast.
No, but I mean, I just want to I would challenge all the contractors that are listening to us that even know what those 25 are. They might know maybe 5 of those items. We know about notice a project, and we know about where the the health and safety, where the fire extinguisher is, where the band-aids are, first aid, all that shit.
They never end up where they're supposed to. They always end up in the back of a truck or under some materials.
But it's just it's funny how that if you're in construction, it's not just about the work that you do; it's about the paperwork that you do too.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
People have no idea.
It's insane how much.
My wife is like, "How the hell did you do this before?" She's like, "I can't believe you did all this," and I'm like, I don't know. I just did. I'd come home like a zombie. I'd be on the computer like dozing off because invoices would get left behind because I'm like, I'll do this later. I would be 3 weeks without sending an invoice.
I know.
To some customers. It's been a huge help to have her helping us.
What is the smallest job you'll do, and what's the largest job you'll do?
So the smallest job we'll do is any size, but we have a minimum. It's $2,000.
Okay, and what will that cover? So that doesn't matter if it's just a bathroom. Mm-hmm. That's $2,000.
$2,000 will cover. So I need to order 2 cubic meters. That's the minimum order from LaFarge Agilia.
Okay.
At 1.5 inches, it's about 450 square feet, roughly. So if someone calls me and they have 300 square feet, it's going to be $2,000. And I will work with the customer. I'll say, listen, and this happens quite often, if I have another job that's close to your job, I'll work with you. I'll bring the truck with me and I'll charge you less. Like I'll figure it out. But sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But it seems to work out quite often where I do have a job close by and I can take the truck with me and I can do it for cheaper. We want to work with the customer.
And LaFarge is pretty cool about that, about moving to 2 different locations.
Oh, yeah. I just tell them I'm taking the truck to the location. And they say whatever.
It's nice to have the relationships in the industry, huh?
Yeah. And the largest job, we don't generally go after the big jobs, the big commercial jobs, like the one that you
the 30,000 square feet, 30,000 each floor.
But that's small. 30,000.
No, 30,000 each floor.
Okay, that's a different story.
30,000, no problem. The thing is, a big job like that would take away a lot of my time. We focus on the custom homes and
So more residential, really.
some commercial. Like we definitely do a lot of commercial jobs. I have one come up in Peterborough. We did one in Brampton. So
What is a commercial job to you? Is it a restaurant or a condominium? What is that?
like I just did an office space in Brampton that was attached to a steel facility. So it's just going to be offices. We have a hospice coming up, but also be a commercial, like restaurants.
And why do you feel that they want to have, like, why would at a commercial level anyone really care about a leveled floors?
So it depends on the application. So like we did a pretty large one 2 years ago in Barrie, and it was an office space, but it's precast. So precast floors need to be leveled, and then they did radiant floor heating. So we had to pour like 1.5 to 2 inches kind of thing. But the precast is always a little bit more off than that. So it was probably more like 1.25 inches to like, let's say 2.5. That would be that application. I just leveled a basketball court in a commercial space.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
How off was that basketball court?
It was a good inch and a quarter. It was not intended to be a basketball court. It was in a commercial building. I'm not sure why they're putting a basketball court there, but they are. So they're putting a basketball court in, and they brought this flooring in from Denmark, the special hardwood floor for the basketball court. So the floor had to be good.
So cool, man.
Yeah. So we get into
This
stuff
is a
like
community center or something like that, or
no, it's like a private office.
a private office with a basketball court.
Yeah, this guy was putting a basketball court in his private office.
Wow.
I don't know what it's
I like
for.
this guy already.
From Denmark.
And then we do like some condo work, like
And
like,
why condos? Because condos are so bad? Is that what it is? And some people just want to glue new floors down?
So I did a few years ago at LCBO in a condo.
Okay.
And the LCBO is very strict on their floor tolerance. Like they're strict on everything. If you ever talk to someone that does work
Sure,
in
bottles
LCBO,
falling on the ground, right?
well, they just have like, it's government. So they have like a long list of like this. So they're like, this is like, they were going to be renting the space from this builder who owns this building, whatever. So the floor had to be within certain tolerance. It was a big one. It was 11,000 square feet.
Wow, nice.
So that was like a floor leveling. I did a Longos like that. I did another LCPO like that. I've done a bunch of Dollaramas like that. Where the flooring, I'm not working for Dollarama. I'm working for the landlord, and they got to provide them with, everything they ask for. So the floor needs to be.
So everybody always wants a brand new floor at that point.
Or at least acceptable.
Acceptable floor.
Yeah, like
but you're getting what? Like when you get there, you're getting what? Scarified concrete, or you're getting broken up concrete, or how?
So the LCBO one, that big one they had to scarify it.
Really? Yeah.
That was out 3 inches on a brand new
Pour?
pour.
Must have been on Friday pour.
In a brand new building.
Brand new building.
Brand new building.
And it was off by 3 inches on 11,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So what's scarified?
Somebody was
What's scarified?
You have to sand. You have to sand it. You have to grind it
Etch
up.
it.
Etch it.
Yeah, like Scarifier like has these teeth in it, like kind of
Yeah.
like etches at the concrete and it kind of chews it up. So scarifying is very aggressive if it's done properly, and it's good because the more rough, the better it is for the bond, right? So
Right.
shot blasting is another way, grinding is another way, but sometimes the floor is just in bad enough shape where it already has that sort of profile to
the
it. So
pitted or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And then other jobs like the Dollarama. So I did a Dollarama in Oshawa, I'm going to say it was 8 years ago. And this floor was in bad shape. And it had all kinds of mastic and glue all over it. And I said to them, like, this has to be removed. Oh, yeah, we're going to remove it. They couldn't remove it. They didn't want to go floating then begin on plastic. They were all against it because it sounds funny. It was 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And they think 10,000 square feet on plastic? This whole thing's going to be floating? I said, yeah.
Well, it's not going to move. The weight's going to hold it.
I know, but they're just freaked out by it. Engineers and architects are very scared by that idea. They tried to get this mastic off, and they couldn't get it off. Like, it was a disaster. So we ended up just going floating. And they were like, wow, this is unbelievable.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about that. When I first started laying tiles 30 years ago, I used to always float my subfloors before I got into Schluter. Basically, I would take a piece of plywood and I would not connect it to the actual joist. I would just connect it to the plywood on top, or I would take concrete board and I then set it down, and it was always floating. Really important is when you're floating this, and it not being connected to the bottom also means that the cracks will not conduct through.
Exactly.
And is there some kind of thermal break involved with putting 6 mil in, or
Not with 6 mil.
moisture disconnection of some kind?
Moisture, but it's really to keep it floating.
Okay.
The flexural strength of the Agilia Screed A, or Agilia Screed, they call it now, is very high. So it's 3 to 4 times that of regular concrete. Regular
Wow.
concrete's at about 2.5 MPa. We're coming around 8 to 10.
So when you're talking about that structural, you're talking about the forgiveness on a vertical plane or on a horizontal plane?
On the horizontal plane, it's the flexural strength. So
Okay.
like where it's gonna like break. Our standard mix would be 25 MPa compressive strength. The flexural is the key. That's a high number. So that's why we can pour on top of plastic, unreinforced. I did a job 2 years ago on Richmond Street downtown. It wasn't huge. It was like 3,000 square feet. It was 9 inches out of level. 9
What
inches.
was this, one of the older loft
Like
buildings?
an old building, like one of those older, like
yeah.
kind of like really like with the big wood
Yeah,
timbers.
yeah,
and
the
whatever.
old school, yeah, the child labor, whatever, sweatshop
Yeah.
buildings here in Toronto, yeah.
And that was 9 inches out of level. So I started with plastic. So from 1 inch on plastic to 2 inches on plastic, and anything after that was insulation. And I'm putting down
So
insulation.
you build it up with insulation so you don't have a complete 9-inch thick slab.
No.
That'd be way
My
too
thickest
heavy.
would be about 3 inches. So the thicker the insulation, the thicker the pour. So as I'm getting the insulation and going thicker and thicker, I am increasing the pour. Yeah, it was amazing. Like people couldn't believe. They were like in shock.
Because at 9 inches, man, how big of it, like space-wise, how far was the opening?
How far?
Like the length and width of it.
This was like 2 rooms, and it was 3,000 square feet. So it was like a long kind of rectangle room.
You would
and-
definitely feel 9 inches on the floor when you're standing there.
It was bad. It was
You
really
would feel
bad.
like it's not level.
No, it was terrible. And the floor had like old tile and this and that. It was just like, it was all over the place.
And you went right over that?
Oh, yeah, right over. I can go right over a carpet,
Wow.
this product.
You can
yeah.
go right over carpet.
Right, plastic and go right on top of carpet.
That is hilarious. Now, can I ask, do you add aggregate after 3 inches or 2 inches?
No.
So it never needs this. This is all glue binders?
The binder is like this recycled ash and then sand and water. That's pretty much it. So there's
Wow.
no aggregate. There's no fibers or mesh or anything like that at all.
I'm used to, like, what you educated me with was I was using actual concrete, and we had a lot of fiberglass hairs in
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times we'd either burn them or sand them off. But now it's gone to a whole other
That
level.
was that the first generation of Agilia?
That was probably, that's what we were used to. This is
No, that's still around. That's still around. That's
So-
Agilia concrete though. So that would be like
Subfloors.
for
Or
a basement
floors, yeah.
slab. A basement slab.
Got
you
it.
could use that, or for like vertical walls, you could use it.
It's not
Agilia
treated as a
concrete.
self-leveler, is it? Or
No.
Okay, so it's just a concrete.
It's a concrete that's a little bit more liquid than regular concrete.
Got it. Okay,
I've done it a couple times. They tried to get me to do it, but it wasn't.
it's not the same product.
It wasn't my thing, though. My
No.
pump can't pump it, so that's one problem because it's got aggregate in it, and it's just not my deal. I just want to stick with what I'm good at and just kind of.
It makes sense, man.
Well,
So perfect it.
Just for the listeners listening, I think that they need to know that if you're going to, say, Centura and you're getting a Tech self-leveler, or you're going to Ardex and you're getting, a
Tech
self-leveler.
has a self-leveler.
Yeah. They have 3 different types. 7 out of 10 bagged self-levelers, 7 out of 10 that I know of, you have to use chicken wire. So for anyone listening to this podcast, they need to know that unless they're hiring you to do it and you're going to, disconnect it and not have it connected to the floor. Like all the self-levelers that I use a milk product to adhere it to either the wood or to the concrete.
A primer.
I also have for my customers that can't afford the better products that I don't need chicken lath with, or lath wire. You have to use lath so it connects to the floor. So
Paul, have you kind of done? In my opinion, doing the bags and mixing and everything and putting it all together it's not cost effective. It's not smart for me. I'd rather just call him with the truck, set it up, and just pour it.
yeah, well, there's a difference between me and him also. I will come in and do a bathroom, or I'll do a kitchen, or I'll do a hallway.
Yeah, I get the small
Like, if
jobs.
I'm
I
laying tile-
But if you're doing a whole floor, so if you're doing 1,000 or 1,500 square feet on a whole floor, you're going to bag all that? You're going to chicken wire and bag all that?
Well, the products I use, I don't use lath. I always go to the more superior
Well,
products.
that's what I'm
But-
asking.
But now that I've met Paul, I think that I'm just going to take that and sub it out to him.
That's what I mean. It makes more sense, right? So I don't understand why all these companies have these bags.
Well, I didn't realize that Agilia was two different products there
Yeah,
in self-leveler, because I'm one of those old school guys where even though I was working the concrete and it was helping me, I was still vibrating it in areas. I was still floating it. I was still lasering it. But your product is pretty much almost like 8 out of 10 self-level, right?
It is, but there's nothing really that's like no product is self-leveling, and you have to use a laser. Like you have to.
Yeah.
Like in every job, I use a laser. I use multiple lasers, and I'm checking the heights like over and over and over again. We use old school European measuring sticks.
The wood ones?
Yeah.
The wood ones.
I love it.
Back pocket. And
Yep.
I love it.
And we're talking in millimeters. We're not talking in
It's like making a suit.
because the product has such a long shelf life, I don't have to hustle. I mean, we can go fast, but when we pour, let's say, like on the job we did with Manny, it was 3 floors. So we pour a whole floor and then stop, and it's going to sit in the truck for hours. And
That's
the hose
so
for hours.
amazing.
So I can like scoop it out with a scooper. Oh, it's high here, it's low here. And I can take my time to get it where it needs to be, as opposed to some of the other products out there that get hard quick, and they just pour it in, and it's just kind of like pour it and get the hell out of it.
And there's also, I totally forgot to even ask at the very beginning, you still testing the batch too, right? Before you actually start pouring.
Oh God, yeah. Every load.
Yeah.
Every
Well,
load.
slump test.
Slump
Yeah.
test,
Yeah.
right? So they have a slump test even for self-leveler. They have a slump test. Everyone's used to concrete with slump tests.
Well, anything come out of LaFarge, they're going to do their own test anyways, right?
They do it,
Yeah,
and I do it. I
but
have
he
to
does-
do it.
yeah.
I don't care what they tell me it is when it leaves the plant. I have to check it.
Yeah, because we've seen the tickets, and a truck will leave it, say, from Hamilton at 6 in the morning and show up at our site at 12:30, and we're like, man, that's been sitting in the truck all day almost, and then we got to work hard to get it done, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Have you done anything exterior wise, like
No.
no?
No.
You can't use the product outside, right?
No, it's not meant to get wet all the time.
And then I know that other people ask me that you can't use it as a finished product either.
It's not typically used as a finished product, although people put epoxy on it.
They do?
Yeah,
They
oh,
have
yeah.
done that, eh? Because I remember
Yep.
a lot of people asked me about that. That was 2-3 years ago. And I said I didn't know. And then I remember talking to LaFarge. They were saying it's not recommended, but I guess you can.
You can. I
Yeah.
mean, I've done a lot of jobs where people put epoxy. I have a rather large one coming up. I don't get involved in the epoxy, but you can definitely do it.
So I guess because you can't use it outside because of UV restrictions, right? Or what?
It's not meant to get wet all the time. That's the problem.
Okay. So
Oh,
you would never
interesting.
use it to self-level a garage then?
Only a garage. So I did a garage a couple years ago for this Italian guy with lots of big
Lots of Ferraris.
Ferraris. Yep.
Yeah, had to be.
And it was an
With the
addition.
bridge.
It was yeah. It was an addition to his house, and he did. So he did it was like a commercial site. That's what it was like. 3,500 square feet precast on the second floor and the first floor. So the upper floor we did the in-floor heating. They put down a system like the Schluter, not Schluter, but like the Schluter. We poured that, and they were like extremely happy with the work. They were going to use dry pack on the lower floor for the garage, so we ended up doing that floor too. And that was 3,500 square feet, and there was an elevator to take your car to the basement for that, but that was concrete.
God.
So that garage we did, but it was going to be tiled, and it was all level.
So there's no risk of it being
No.
exposed to water all the time?
No.
But
when
your
someone-
regular double car garage,
No, I
because
won't
you'd
do
have
it.
snow on it, you'd have rain on
Exactly.
it sometimes when
And
it
that's
opens.
the problem.
Got it.
Although I hear from the truck drivers all the time, this shit's amazing, because they go and they like whatever is left over, they dump it in the yard on the ground, and they're telling me that 6 months later, it's been through the whole winter, and we're driving over it, and it's like hard as a rock.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
It's
I
got to
would-
be some other reasons. I mean,
I wouldn't
companies.
risk it though. I would never risk doing it
Yeah,
outside.
a company like LaFarge is huge enough that they probably have tested it to a point
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's going to fail, and they don't want any of those failures, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
to be on an
100%.
actual job.
And I would never take that risk.
No, that's
It's
too
not-
much
It's
of a
not
risk.
worth it. People are calling me all the time begging me to do all this crazy shit. I'm like, I'm not. No,
Because they
I'm not
think it's a
doing this.
bulletproof product, right? So once people see a bulletproof product, they go, let's just use this on everything. It doesn't work that way, man. You can't. It's perfect where it's supposed to be used.
Exactly.
I know that with the products I use, because I don't use such a great product that you do, a more commercial end of it, but I do use great products with no failure. I don't like going to job sites that the walls are already up. For some reason, people always call you after they've built the walls. What's your preference?
The product's a little bit different, right? Because it's usually floating. I do jobs, and of course it's amazing to go and just pour some huge open space and have the walls built on top. But technically, right, you don't want them to fasten the wall through into the subfloor below because it's connecting the floor and then it's not floating. So typically the walls are up and we go and we pour like
It's
room by
better to
room.
do it that way.
That would be the way for this product. But I see where you're coming from with the product you're doing. You're going bonded to the wood or bonded to the concrete.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better. Now, that being said, I do a lot of jobs they want to build the walls on top because it's like a really screwed up floor. And to try to put a track down on the floor, it's all over the place. So we level the floor and they build on top.
That's what I'd rather do. Another one of my pet peeves when it comes to self-leveling is, contractor will say, hey, I need you to come in and level my floor. The plumber finished. And I'm like, oh, perfect. I know he's got that ABS sticking out and I can cut it off later. And I always show up and they've already cut it and they got a drain cap and it's 3 inches low. Why are they doing that kind of stuff? And what else do you run into that you wish general contractors or homeowners would not do before they call you?
Like we talked about before, the stairs is a big one.
That's a huge
Yeah.
one.
Stairs
for sure.
is a huge one. Like people just assume, let's just say it's a radiant floor heating. Let's just say we're going to say 3,000 square foot house, 2 floors, 1,500 square foot per floor, let's say, and it's in floor heating. So they're saying 1.5, and they just assume 1.5. And that's the killer. I wish they would call me first so I could go see the job and say to them, okay, at the stairs, make sure you tell the stair guy 2 inches.
Who is this? Is this the GC or is this the homeowner?
It depends because
That's
I
pulling
do
the trigger.
I do a lot of work with both.
So you work with both, right? I could see the fault being on the homeowner because they wouldn't understand the calculations behind you self-leveling an entire floor starting from one end and you have to get to the other end and it's going to compromise that size that is in the middle where the stairs generally are.
Yeah.
But with a GC, they should know better on that.
But where are they getting the 1.5 inches from in the first place?
It's sort of like a standard in the industry. That's the standard thickness.
Thickness.
Yeah.
Really, eh?
That's the standard thickness that most myself or my competitors would pour on radiant floor heating would be 1.5 inches.
Okay.
But look
And
at
then-
it this way. If the house is off by 1 inch and you need a minimum 1.5 inches, he's got to put a minimum 1.5 inches where it's on one side. And then by the time he gets to the other side, so then it won't be 1.5 inches at certain points.
I really want to talk about the project you did that I was working at.
That was off a little bit too, right? So,
No, but like, how much difference of subfloor did you use? Like, that was an existing home. So did you have to knock out the floor joists and lower them?
no.
And
So
how much did it build up from the
all
floor?
the floor joists were sistered, and because they were all sagging in the middle, so they were all sistered with new plywood down, right? And then we try to get as straight from the front to the back, but even when Paul got on there, it was still off a tiny
No,
bit.
but with all your material, with the Schluter,
So you basically
felt.
had a 3/4 ply T&G. You had the Sono Pro on it. Then you had the Schluter on top of it. The Schluter Becotech is 1 5/8 inches, I think.
I can't remember.
I can't remember exactly. I think it's 1 5/8 inches
But
thick.
you're talking about another 1.5 inches of self-leveler on top.
No.
Okay.
That's where the Schluter product comes in. You needed a minimum of 10 mil on top of the highest point of the pucks of the foam.
So
Yes.
10 mil was
is basically
just
half
an
inch.
inch.
Yeah,
okay.
basically that's the
3/8.
minimum. So then,
It's 3/8.
yeah.
10
So-
mils, 3/8.
So if I can get this right, if it's over Schluter, you only need 3/8 to be
minimum,
on top.
but there was some spots that were a little thicker because
Yeah.
we had to make it perfect, right?
Okay, so without the Schluter system, what would you have to have over radiant flooring?
Usually we're pouring 1.5 inches, which
Okay,
is
so
25
that's standard.
mil.
So our floor was a little thicker, but we're doing it to reduce the weight of the floor and to give you some R value, but also to give you more uncoupling capabilities.
Okay.
Because that Becotech is a Detra product.
So what did you do about the staircases and the front door? Because when I
They
when I
weren't
walked
measured
to that
or
house,
ordered until after he was done.
dude, because when I came to your project, I did not even know that that's how much floor was built up.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was-
perfect. It felt comfortable. You did a great job, by the way. And I walked on that every single day. I was pounding on that floor.
Well, there was
I
a week or
dropping
two.
tools on that floor.
There was a week or two before Paul did the job where it was a pain in the ass because we had that little step up. So I built up what we thought because you came by and measured everything, and we thought it was going to be in around here. So I had a little step up. So every time you walked up the stairs, you had to step up to get to that point, right? Because we already knew where we were going to be.
And then you did the staircase afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's what really
And that's what
changed
worked out
that
perfectly.
project.
So yeah, that's a big deal.
Some of the high-end jobs, I shouldn't even say high-end, but some of the builders, they work with a finished floor mark. And
Yeah.
that's the proper way to do it.
Okay.
They got a finished floor mark, and this is for every trade. This is for everybody. You're working off this mark. It's 1 meter down from this mark or whatever the hell it is to the finished floor so that everyone knows this is it. And we're all working off the same mark. I wish that more builders would do that, because then I show up to the job and this is it. It's easy to quote. I go to that mark and I adjust what I need to do and I figure out what I need. Some builders, or I'd say a lot of builders don't do that, and they just say, and I say, what's the height? And they say 1.5 inches. And
Yeah,
I
no,
say,
it's just stuck in their head.
and I say, okay, well, is there a certain spot that needs to be 1.5 inches? Like, is there a crucial spot? Did you order the staircase yet? And they say, no. And I say, okay, good. And then I check the windows. So if the modern homes have the floor to ceiling windows, you know, sometimes the flooring has to hit the window in a certain spot. Then I got to check all the windows to make sure the windows are installed level. That would be my biggest thing, is getting me in early. Like, if the contractor or the homeowner could get me in early to check the floor, like I talked about before, it's crucial. It's not crucial, but I mean, on some jobs it is.
You don't have a problem getting in there early just to go take a look.
Yeah.
Set up your laser, takes seconds to do it, and then just check it. Just check it, and then you know what you're up for when you get there on the job site, right?
I'll drive all the way to Huntsville to do that.
Yeah, that's what's amazing. A lot of guys won't do that. That's why when Paul first told me that some guys don't even use lasers when they're pouring it.
You know what? I'm not even at
that's
your
a recipe, man.
I'm not even at your level. I take levels to the walls. I always spin the laser. People are always like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like,
Oh, I just got it. You're not even at his level. Okay, speaking of that, we have to do our final segment.
"Oh, it's Green Book talk."
Yes, there we go.
And that's our budget. It's so intense.
Because we got to wrap it up soon.
So section 2281A, employer failing to mark gas or electrical or other services before excavating. What is the fine?
What is the first
first
fine
offense.
for that? I don't even know that one. I'm going to guess $550.
I was going to say 500.
No. I thought you were going to go 501.
$250?
No, it's $650 for your
Six.
for your first offense. So that's
If you don't mark the gas.
if you don't mark the gas.
So you don't do your locates.
Yeah, so if you don't do call before you dig or your locates, anything happens, you're fully responsible for it, but your first fine as a general contractor is $650, and then starting to climb, right? Which could go to $100,000. We all know that.
That was?
That was Green Book talk. Now, is it something that you need to also do? Do you need to know where all those things are when you're working? I guess not. You don't need to worry about any of those kind of things, right?
Like you're talking about the gas line?
No, yeah.
Just any electrical or
Any
plumbing.
protrusions, you're taping around them.
Yeah, anything that's sticking through the floor, we're dealing with it. Toilet flanges, pipes. It's mostly toilet flanges, floor boxes for electrical, sometimes some gas lines. We're just wrapping it up, taping it up.
Have you ever had any horrible nightmare stories where it cracked open and it went down to a basement or filled a duct or something?
No, I'm missing a hole.
I've had
or
a few stories. We just did a small basement. It was a few weeks ago. We taped the shit out of like all these spots, especially crucial spots, right? And there's a sump pump there, and I don't know what happened. Somehow it started going through the tape.
Oh my God.
Into the sump pump.
And pumped it outside.
No. It wasn't operational yet. It was just in the ground.
Just a pit.
It was just a pit.
Yeah.
So like
It was a pit.
I jumped into it, and I was scooping it out because it was going up. It was probably about 6 inches up. It was a lot.
Oh, wow.
It was a bad leak, and we were trying to fix it. So we fixed it. We got it. I got as much as I could out of there. And I just called the builder and said, "Listen, this is what happened, and I'll be here not
Chip it
tomorrow."
out.
I said I'll come here on Sunday. It was a Friday. I'll come on Sunday. I jumped in the pit, and I just kind of lied on my stomach and hit it and broke it up, and then just cleaned it up with water, and that was it.
It was done.
I mean, stuff happens.
It made more sense just to let it dry and then just break it up from there.
100%. Because there's no way for me to get it all out. It was wet. It was wet, right? And I couldn't get down on my knees or anything
get it.
To get. So once it was hard, and I could lie on the floor or like get down on my hands and knees and chip
you're
it
dealing
out.
with such a fluid product, right? So it will find the holes.
That's funny. I got that one. Who is wasting your time, and how do you know when people are wasting your time when you're quoting?
The Google ones, the ones off Google, because those ones don't know me, right? And they're generally calling around to every single person that they can find on Google. They're trying to get like 6, 7 prices. A lot of my work is referral and repeat. We have a really high success rate. I would say I probably get 75% of the jobs I quote. The ones I don't get could be because I'm up against a cheaper product and they're a little bit cheaper, and it's the people are trying to talk me down and get me to go down with the price. In general, it's the people that call me off of Google that don't know anything about me. They just found me off there. Those are the ones, like I can definitely, I track my leads and I track which jobs I get. I can definitely see those. I get a lot less jobs from those people on the Google.
They're just price shopping. That's all they're doing.
Just price shopping, and they don't have someone telling them this guy is use this guy. Like, you know, when someone gives you that type of referral, like we have a lot of flooring companies that we work with. We don't work with them, but they want to work on our floors. So when that flooring company already has a relationship and says to the guy, I want to work on this guy's floor. Like, you have to use this guy for this job. And then, you know, maybe I'm 30 cents more per square foot. That 30 cents more per square foot doesn't really make a difference to that guy because he knows that we're legit, right? The Google ones know anything about us besides what we tell, and everyone's saying the same stuff, right? They're all saying, yeah, I'm the best and blah, blah, blah. So,
well, I guess so what is making the price cheaper for the guys that are doing jobs cheaper?
Different product.
Different product.
Yeah.
And we all know that LaFarge Agilia Screed it's a superior product, but it's a superior product for a reason, man.
100%.
So, I mean, I didn't have any
I
failures
love
with
all
it.
of LaFarge products.
Yeah,
so.
they're great products. Yeah. So
I wanted to ask you something. You don't have to answer it. I always say that there is no set price in anything in construction. It's all about the way you run things, the tools you have, the guys that you have working for you. What is a square footage approximate price for you to come in and without radiant heat, just to come in and level per inch?
That's a hard one to answer. Per inch?
Yeah. What's an average? Not holding you on anything or anyone holding it, but just kind of an average if someone's listening and they want to kind of calculate their basements out so they can give you some work.
A basement is tough because it could be from, 1 inch to 3 inch to 4 inch.
I guess it's volume, right? You got to. There's a.
Well, that's why I
variable.
asked 1 inch.
I know, but
right?
okay. So, but if you're self-leveling a basement, you're not just going to put 1 inch over the whole thing. There's a reason why you're self-leveling it. So it could be off by 1.5 inches, and now you've got to add 2 inches or something like that.
True.
So it's
but
not
for
about
someone like me. I could go in there with my laser, and I would know. Okay, I'm out. I would. Even if I'm down an eighth in this area, I'll still charge for 1 inch, and that will give me my rough price to go in and price the job.
Basements are tough. I never give a per square foot price on a basement over the phone, but let's just say it's like a main floor of a house, 1.5 inches, like somebody called me for a rain for heating job, a couple thousand square feet. We're going to be anywhere from $290 to $330 per square foot.
Finished.
That's at 1.5 inches. That's installed. That's the plastic. That's the product installed. That's the sanding.
And you would do the same process in a basement?
Basements vary.
Okay.
Basements vary. So like if it's a floor leveling base, like a job we did this week, they left it low, and they left it rough, right? So we went bonded. So it's a little bit, and it was only like the floor was actually pretty good. It wasn't terrible. It was up and down maybe about 1.25 inches, which is not that bad. We just showed up there, sprayed a primer, and then we poured. But some other basements I show up and they're like 5 inches out of level, so I need a lot of insulation. I'm going on plastic because there's all kinds of glue and mastic, and there's old ceramic tiles, paint. You can't really go bond to that stuff. So that's
you
different.
have to float.
I got to be floated there.
And the minimum on that is 1.5 inches.
No, 1 inch.
1 inch. Okay,
1 inch,
that's good to know.
So there's a few variables, right?
Well,
so if
the
anybody's
only reason is
interested-
because I'm going to be hiring bulk for a lot of my
I know,
projects.
that's what I'm just saying. That's the reason why. So each project's unique. You just got to figure out what you need and then go from there.
Yeah. Just for the youngsters or people entering this business, are you looking for new employees?
When we do hire, we try to hire someone that has no experience. I know that sounds crazy.
No, it
Love
doesn't.
it.
No, it doesn't.
Sponge.
I don't want some guy that did concrete to come in and be like, oh, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. They think they know everything, and it's totally different. It's like a totally separate trade. So, I mean, I want someone that's got some work experience. Like, they're not scared to get dirty. But I don't want someone that's going to have the experience doing similar products, like I'll say concrete, because they just think, well, this is how to do concrete, and they have their own methods.
Yeah.
And we have very specific ways on the way we do it. and we want to teach someone like on how to how to do it our way.
That's right.
So like we have this new kid. He's Irish and he's really good. He's picking it up quick.
Irish love concrete.
And you know what? He comes to work every day. He works hard, and he's
He comes to work every day.
That makes a huge difference, man.
That's half the battle, man. That's half the battle, honestly.
That's what we hear. I know. I get it, man. Everybody wants to be a rock star. They all want your job right away, right? They don't want to do all the grunt work.
No.
They don't want to work their way up to the ladder.
No.
Nope.
And I think that's why I have success in this too. Because I came out of the plumbing industry, no experience in this at all. Never did concrete, so I didn't come in with some sort of predetermined. This is how it should be done and whatever. No experience. I was taught on how to do it from these guys, and that's.
And you just took it and you built it from there.
Yeah, I took what they taught me and I've changed it. I've definitely used a laser a lot more than they used to, but
Yeah.
the laser's the key. The laser has to be used on every job and every spot, because I see a lot of guys online, they use like these pins and they put them in the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I don't get that. It's a nice guide.
yeah.
Well,
great
you could do
guide.
it for form. Like if you're doing like, I used to put nails in the wall. So I'd take a level and or I'd laser and I'd put nails. That way when I am floating and I don't want to have something in my hand, I know that I have to get to that mark.
One more thing. So like, let's just say, for example, when you put those nails or screws in the floor, on a wood floor, not talking about a basement, you'd be surprised how much the floor sinks in the middle of the room
From the weight?
from the weight.
Wow.
Even
How
though
much are we
it's-
talking about?
I've seen sometimes at least a quarter.
See, that's
At
why.
least.
So structurally, does that mean you need an engineer or architect?
I
then?
had a lot of conversations with the engineer about this. That's why I had to get the specifications from Agilia Screed. I had to get the specifications from the Becotech.
Brilliant.
I had to get all these specifications because somebody had to sign off on what the weight was going to be when this was done.
But even on jobs where it's spec'd in for
It
topping,
still shifts, eh?
it still shifts. So I have the laser in the middle, okay, and I'm making my marks on points that aren't going to go down. So I'm talking about like steel columns or outside walls that are sitting on foundation.
Yeah.
And then the laser's in the middle. And as I get by the laser, I pour that spot, I look at the mark, and it's lower. So if I have those pins that are on the floor,
They're lower.
they're sinking.
Yeah.
So I don't do anything like
Brilliant.
that.
Lasers.
Great tip.
I love that, Paul. You talked a lot about the laser, and that's key. I think it's absolutely key. Yeah, and it was Hilti. I get it. It was Hilti.
Lasers.
All right, Paul. Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it. I think we covered a lot here.
We covered a lot.
So that's Paul. You can find him at Mack Constructions Inc. on Instagram, and then www.mackconstructionsinc.com.
Boom, boom, boom.
Thank you very much, Paul, for coming
Thank
in.
you.
I know
Thank
it was
you for
kind of like
having
a
me.
last minute, but we really wanted to talk about you. We really want to talk with you about self-leveling, because I really want to see more clients actually do this, man. I want it, and then I'm glad that you've grown so well in the last few years, man, which is great. Get us out of here, Carlito.
Yo, 416TO, baby, and I love our budget. Boom, boom. Yeah.